Hello and welcome to our new series here on World of Passion with me and Chris talking about the week's games and what's interesting, what we found interesting, what we found not so interesting. And
Mm.
yeah, just to clarify, we're not going to be talking about games we haven't watched, at least the highlights of, and even the ones that we've talked about highlights. It's we would well, I've for example, I watched less games than Chris, so I made sure to do some background reading on games I haven't covered. If there aren't games we just haven't got, we won't go into, and that's just how it's going to be. Otherwise, we're just going to be chatting nonsense, and then people are going to call us out on it. So,
Mm.
um, yeah. So, first of all, how are you, Chris? And then let's get into this Burnley game as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I think it was a decent weekend of football to the last game. I think the last game was the worst game of the weekend. I think it was just nice to have football back. Um, it seems that there's going to be a Friday game every week, which I didn't expect. I thought it would just be like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, sometimes not even Monday, but there's a Friday game the whole every week this month, and that's weird for me. Like always having a game to view. Maybe that's for just TV. Maybe it's just for
Mm.
TV, having more games on TV because everyone's gonna watch that Friday game. But yeah, I think it was nice to not start the season off with the pressure of being the one everyone's watching. I think it's 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah,
Brentford,
and
Brentford and
Palace.
Palace. We
Yeah,
started the season off. Both big pressure. Both went the completely other way. 2-0 win and 2-0 loss. But yeah,
yeah.
I think it's a good weekend of football. Not a good weekend for my FPL though. I'm bottom of the league though.
You actually bottom. Oh, that's nasty for you. Um, I think the main thing we need to talk about is I think the way this season is going to start unfolding and the way this first week has gone. I think there's definitely a way you can talk about the amount of fixtures that are going to have to occur. Like we've seen already, Kevin De Bruyne out and now Jurgen Timber out. I think the amount of fixtures. And I think the hangover from the amount of fixtures last season with the World Cup and splice in between, I think it's going to start catching up, and then we will see a bit more, quite a few more injuries because of fatigue and because of overwork. And I think there has to be a way to actually either increase squad size or allow more players to play. Because at this moment in time, you're looking at squads where there's just not a time. Uh, there's just not a time, like enough
But
time to
even the
recover.
teams with the biggest squads are struggling.
Yeah,
There's just too many games. I think the Nations League has just created way too many games.
yeah. And don't forget, like even for City now, the City have got the Super Cup, Club
But
World
I don't
Cup.
even think the club games is the issue
Mm,
because for example, the Invincibles, I think they played 54 games
mm,
in all comps, and now if you go to the final of everything, it's 60 games.
yeah.
Because Liverpool played 60 when they went to the final of literally every single competition. So as a top team, you're trying to challenge in every single game. You can't really complain because there's other teams that aren't really complaining because they're playing 38 games. So I think the issue is the World Cup. Well, not the World Cup created like a build up of games that you had to squish in to a smaller amount of time. Plus the Nations League, which made us play into like June when the
Mm.
season should have ended in May, but the Nations League made the season end pretty much at the end of June. They were still playing football till like June 17th or something.
Yeah.
So the Nations League is an issue that has just created
I
a
don't even
cluster
get the
of
point of
games.
it. I'll be honest. Like
It's just
it
another.
feels like it feels like just added fixtures for as like a money grab type thing. But that's a whole different show. I think we should start talking about the games because we've got a lot of games to cover. And funny enough, I've actually got them all up on my second screen just to make sure we don't forget any.
Mm.
But the first game of the season, Burnley versus Man City, I think the biggest talking point for me anyway was the drop off in performance after De Bruyne went off. I mean, what about you? How did you see that game going?
I think we saw the change in performance versus us when De Bruyne came on.
Mm,
It was really expected for me until Foden got a bit more central, and Bernardo actually. When they got a bit more central, they had a bit more success. But that team does lack a bit of cutting edge. I did expect Burnley to have chances, and they did create. Actually, they did do well on the ball.
Hmm.
But again, it was just the X factor, really, the Haaland factor. You can't really match it. Them 2 goals he scored, like the second one in particular, was a elite finish, like crossbar, no touch, crossbar and in, perfection. But yeah, I think Burnley did well actually for a relegated team to play the best team in the world. I said relegated, so a promoted team to
Promote
play.
team, yeah.
Yeah, promoted team to play the best team in the world on the first day and hold your own at time. I think they had periods of dominance isn't the word, but they had periods where they were on the ball, they were pinning Man City back in a sense. But yeah, Man City still lack profiles, which is why they're still in the market. Like we're seeing, they're trying to get Paqueta. Like the Paqueta noise started after the game, really.
And then Doku as well.
Yeah, and Jeremy Doku, who is a signing I don't want them to get. It gives them a 1v1 threat both sides. It gives them a different cross that they don't really have. Because
Mm.
Kyle Walker, for example, can cross the ball, but doesn't cross from the touchline. Doesn't really cross from deep, even though he's a right back. It's weird. He loves to overlap and play cutbacks. But yeah, Doku is just a different thing that I hope they don't add. But Burnley didn't surprise me because anyone who watched them last season know what type of team they are. A good team on the ball, which is different from what they are. They had the most ball in play last season
Yeah.
in the whole top leagues, and they scored the most goals. So yeah, I think they're a good team. I don't really see them going down.
No, I mean, I think neither of us had them going down. I think I had them just up above. I think I had them 17th, if I remember correctly,
Mm.
and I think you had them a bit higher. But for me, I don't think they go down. I think they will be in a scrap, but
Mm.
I'm interested to see how they go because it's just I feel like defensively playing JDP football in the Premier League with the squad they have is going to be a bit dangerous, but it could be dangerous in a defensive way as well because of the amount of positional rotations that they have going up the pitch. So that's something to watch out for. But for me, when I watched that game, the main thing what I was talking, I brought away from that game because I watched it back afterwards, um, was the positioning of Kevin De Bruyne and how it changed when he came off the pitch, because he was really making sure that there was an active threat going forward, and I felt like they just were devoid of any creativity after he came off. What did you make of his impact coming off?
I think when De Bruyne came off, it was a big blow for them. It looked
Mm,
like they kind of rushed him back because he didn't look the fittest, and he just came off apparently from the same injury that he had from the Champions League final. But yeah, they do like cutting edge without him. They do like another X factor. They still get through games because they're an elite team, and I think Rodri really stepped up. He provided a nice thrust going forward. I don't know how many shots he had, but I remember him having at least 3 shots on target. Obviously, the
mm,
goal. He did deserve a goal. He had a great game on and off the ball, actually. He is a player that I didn't really expect to step into that role of getting the goals, but he just gets them regularly.
yeah.
And he likes to score against Burnley, actually. That's his third goal against Burnley in his career. So he does like to score against them. But yeah, I think what I wanted to ask you, do you think Foden will get that central role now that De Bruyne's out?
No, and that's why I'm so I don't understand. I mean, if you were going to give Foden the central role, Paqueta would not be the first player on top of your list. It's
Mm.
quite clear that the midfield is going to be Rodri, Kovacic, Paqueta, or even Bernardo Silva because you're so keen on keeping him now. I don't see Foden being that central. We've seen how Pep talks about Foden. He thinks that he can play in multiple positions, but the main thing is that he's not looking to go into a role where, like, I don't see him being central, and we've seen him be central for England, but not for City. I mean, how many games have you actually seen him central for City?
Off the top of my head, I can't really remember. But I don't think he'll ever, as long as Bernardo and De Bruyne are there, he just prefers them to being central, especially De Bruyne. I don't think Foden or Grealish will ever see them truly perform in that 8 role.
Mm.
Um, do you think well, I want Grealish didn't start. Um, do you think that's a consistent thing going forward, or do you think he'll get his place back? Because I think he grew into the team later on at the end of last season, and people were saying he had a great season. He's worth 100 mil again. Do you think he grows back into the team,
Well,
or like,
Grealish.
yeah? Do you think he goes back into the team on the weekend, or will be out again now that De Bruyne's injured?
Oh no, he'll be back. I think if you look at this team, I think Grealish is, funnily enough, their most creative outlet. I would say. I mean, he's not an outlet, but he's their most creative force now, which is kind of, you kind of think of that and you're thinking that's not really right now. I don't really see, even if Paqueta comes in, is he really he's more, I would say, a goal threat than a creative. I don't see him as a major assist maker or someone that's going to put in those incisive passes. Whereas Grealish, I could see maybe he could do something along those lines. But look, I think the main thing with Grealish is he's going to have to be there now. He's got to have to step up. I don't really see, in an attacking force, he's one of the leaders now, surely. No Mahrez. Bernardo's probably going to be playing central. Foden is, we don't know what's going on with Foden. Foden right wing. I mean, Jeremy Doku as well. If he does come in, is he going to slot straight in and become, as you mentioned, provide those crosses? It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what the plan is with Grealish. I do think he will start, but you know what, Pep's like, he will rotate a lot.
I really don't like talking about City if you can't tell. But what do you is he worth? No, I don't think he's worth 100 million. But I do think, again, he's a different type of midfielder to what they have. I think the combination play in midfield is something they don't really have. Paqueta at Lyon was a good combo player. Loved 1-2s, loved driving with the ball. Has a decent shot on him actually on the edge of the box. At West Ham, he's really, I don't think he really suits Moyes. I didn't expect Moyes to sign him actually. He's not Moyes' type of midfielder. He's not Moyes' type of player. He's not big, tall, strong, great indoors, which is why you see him in the positions he was in West Ham. He was making a lot of fouls. That's just not what he does. But I think
he's not worth 100 million pounds,
and he's not good enough for City either. Really,
no.
Like, he's a drop off from a Gundogan, from a De Bruyne, from a Foden.
But do you think he's perhaps thinking that he could be that Gundogan replacement? I don't think at the same level, but I think he's profile for profile.
I think he's different though. Like, Gundogan wasn't as much of a ball carrier. He didn't really he can do the 1-2s, but that's what Paqueta likes doing. 1-2s, passes around the corner.
I mean, he's grown up on that Brazilian tabella culture, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's not really Gundogan's game. Gundogan was great at arriving in the box, was actually great indoors. And in the big moments, he was always there. Champions League versus Dortmund, Champions League, Premier League versus Aston Villa, FA Cup versus United. Like, will he replicate them goals? I don't think so.
No.
So he's a drop-off. I don't think he's 100 mil or he's good enough. But he's what they'll have. And he's different to Kovacic. So we'll see if different's good or not.
The thing is, I think what this emphasizes is that there's an increased proclivity for Pep to go for dribblers now. I think he's trying to break blocks using dribblers. I think Kovacic and Paqueta to kind of indicate that he's taking dribbling as more of a premium than he would as previously, like he would with a Xavi or an Iniesta or a Busquets, which are more pass heavy, touch and move players. He's more moving towards 1v1 individual dribblers that can help break down blocks.
I do think, I just think you have to wait and see really, because I think I'm not even sure what role he plays now that De Bruyne's out. I'm not sure what role he would even play if he does eventually go there. So I think it's just a wait and see.
Do you think that De Bruyne being out, especially for the Emirates game, which is looking very likely,
De Bruyne is not going to be out for that game?
No, I'm telling you, he will be. He's going to be out for at least 2 to 3 months, and the game is in 6 weeks. So
the game is in 2 months.
It's October 6th, the Emirates game.
So yeah, that's in 2 months.
Yeah, just under just 6 or 7 weeks or something to
Yeah,
say.
7 weeks.
So if he's out for that game and he's out for that period of time as well,
It could be
I
a
mean,
big blur depending on how they play without him.
mm,
He was we saw the drop off in the game without him, so I can't imagine how it will translate in the other games. I just want to see one game without him, like full 90, knowing he's not going to be
yeah,
there. And then how does Uppercut go into the team? Like, where does he play? So I'm not sure that what that team does without him. They're still some of the best players on the planet, so we'll see. I just don't. No one can replicate what he does. I'm intrigued to see how he changes it. I would
mm,
use Foden, but I don't think he does. But yeah,
yeah,
discounts. Foden, I think Pep himself has just played him so little
yeah.
that you just don't see him much. So everyone's just talking about him being on the bench, being on the bench. He's always on the bench.
It's not
He's
even
a bench
that.
right now.
It's the I think everyone discounts because Foden quite clearly is one of our premium talents in terms of just his
England.
ability on the top on the half turn, his ability just to read space and to attack one on one. He's one of the best we have. But I think what people are fed up of is, as Chris said, we just don't see him. If you don't see someone, you can't really say that they're you put them in conversations they're not really meant to be in, especially given the fact that he's been in these title winning teams, but everyone seems to accredit these title winning teams to his success. And
Mm.
he's not really had that effect that people have acclaimed for him. So, and as for Alvarez, it's a similar
It's
thing. I think
similar, yeah.
like if you're not on the pitch a lot, you're not going to get the same acclaim that someone like a Haaland or a De Bruyne. Because the thing is, Alvarez, he showed at the World Cup, he's a serious player. So there's no reason for him not to be in that sort of world class forward or next world class forward um, conversation. But he's just not playing. And
Yeah.
if I think he's happy with it. I think he was brought in. He was brought in knowing that would be his role. They brought him in the same season as Erling Haaland. I don't think he came in under any pretenses that he was going to be starting
So
like 40 games or something like this. So it'll be interesting to see how his career evolves as well. Same
and,
as Phil.
and he signed a new deal, so he's quite clearly
Yeah.
happy.
Mm,
We have seen him play full 90s without Haaland. Alvarez played full 90s without Haaland, and he was one of the best players on the pitch. That was against Liverpool when they beat them
mm,
4-1. He scored. He had a great game. But yeah, I think these two guys just out of sight, out of mind, really.
mm.
And when they play more, like when Foden played on versus Burnley, he played a full 90. People were looking really for any action to praise him, like the flick in the box. It didn't result in anything, but I saw it everywhere.
No, I think the main way to think about it is don't criticize fun. Okay, people, it's quite clearly a fun moment, but to sit there and be like, okay, this is the guy, this is the guy. Look, it was a fun moment, and I enjoy fun. I grew up with Ronaldinho, I grew up with Zidane, I grew up with these guys. Like I appreciate fun and I like fun, but in modern day football, you need to be able to show that you have some kind of like what did the actions result in? Not just goals, not just assists, but even if you're, for example, just progressing the ball through the thirds and contributing in doing something productive, just having a moment. Because the thing is, if they show that clip going on, he loses the ball. So
Mm.
yeah, it's just about functionality as well as fun. Because I'm telling you right now, me and Chris both make comps. That one moment goes in a comp. Okay,
100%.
so this is the thing. Have your fun, but let's just. He's not. He needs to start being. I just think that if you're looking at if I'm Phil Foden and I see Lucas Paqueta coming in, I'm thinking, come on, man, what have I got to do? I need
To
to
be
get
fair,
in the central midfield. That's my role. That's where I want to be playing. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we talked enough about Station now. I mean, I want to
mm.
talk about Newcastle because man, this Newcastle team, and
Well,
they look like they're going to try and get Tierney as well.
I think that would be great. But I hope they get Tierney because we're
Mm,
wasting him. We're wasting him on our bench really for not if we're just not gonna play him. Yeah, Saturday had a couple good games. Obviously, we won't speak about our game. because we spoke about it yesterday for an hour. So if you want to see us speak about Arsenal
Mm.
again, check that video. But yeah, the Newcastle and Brighton games are really the dominance of the day.
Mm.
I think Brighton 4-1, second half real dominance. Luton didn't really look like they could score. Did you see that game?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw quite a bit of that game.
Mm.
The thing is with Brighton, I'm never sort of this just felt like typical Brighton. They didn't feel like anything out of place, and that's what's so impressive because they've remade their midfield and it still looks the same. I mean, what did you make of their build-up structure and how they really attacked this game?
I think they really dominated the game, but I think their build up was actually decent. But at some points in the game, I was surprised at how Luton were in the game, like defensively. I think their structure was actually decent. They do play over five,
Mm.
so it counteracted Brighton for a bit, but they still had chances early in the first half. Welbeck missed a couple. Welbeck probably should have got an assist when he was greedy, but Matoma again is Matoma 1v1. He was great. He got an assist. So Pedro in the 10 kind of, he wasn't up top. I
Yeah, that
don't
was
think.
it was a weird role for him. And did you make it? I felt like it was sort of like a 9.5, 10-ish. It wasn't like he
Yeah,
wasn't like a
he wasn't
full.
up top.
He wasn't up top, and he wasn't sort of dropping in completely either.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the whole false nine equivocation when you have a nine on the pitch. You can't really say that because then what is that? That doesn't make any sense. You can't. I don't think he was a second striker either. I think he was more of a deep lying nine, if that makes sense.
But
Like
Welbeck drops in there. Welbeck doesn't always
yeah.
sit on the shoulder. So they were both like
Mm.
twin strikers, but they weren't
Yeah, that's a good way of
really.
putting it.
I think it was like, yeah, twin strikers, but
Mm.
and they both sometimes interchange, one in behind, one drops deep, but they didn't really like drop as deep as you see like Jesus drop. He didn't really do that role.
Mm.
But I think he looked good actually. He looked like there was growth for him there, especially with potential combination with Evan Ferguson, who is actually a good combo player, good passer, and the runs in behind that resulted in the penalty
Yeah.
will be picked out a lot more. I just think Brighton played one of the like Luton aren't even a bad team, which is scary of how good the Prem is, because Luton didn't look that bad.
No, not at all. I
And
was actually kind of shocked how that they looked quite decent because
mm,
I'll be honest, I haven't watched any Luton Town, so I don't know what they're coming up with. But they look. This is the thing. I think a lot of teams in that will be around the relegation battle will start off like, oh wait, they might have something about them. But I want to see what happens when they start getting into November, December.
I think the potential like for them to stay up is that they can get goals. I think
Mm.
their strikers can get goals. They can get 10 plus goals, which is something we didn't see for Wolves, which we'll get into. But I think in the relegation fight, it's important for goals, and there's potential for them to get goals, but at the same time, like they conceded 4 already, so you never know what more they could concede versus other teams. But yeah, Brighton really a straightforward victory. They
I
didn't
didn't
really.
expect it. I don't think any of us are going to expect anything different against Luton. This, especially
Mm,
when they're away from home.
it's something
Uh,
we should have got. Like you have to get that type of
mm,
against the bottom dogs. If you're trying to go for something big, you have to try and get like a 4 or 5, which is something we have to do more consistently. Because one is great for confidence for various players, but 2 is just great for goal difference. And yeah, Newcastle, you were going to go into it, but I just stop you your tracks quick for the Brighton. But yeah, Newcastle, Aston Villa started off as a great game, uh, back and forth, a lot of chances for Isak. Tonali scored the first goal on his first game, probably a dream start. I think he scored the fastest debut goal for a Newcastle player ever.
mm.
So that's great for him. Um, and then the game really changed after 25 minutes. But what did you think of the first 25? Because it was really end to end like a
Yeah, end to
basketball match.
end, and this is the thing. Um, I still don't get. I don't get why they got power Torres. Really, and
Mhm.
like genuinely, if you're going to play Unai Emery style football, right? It's very simple. You need to have defenders who will be able to put their necks on the line for
Mhm.
to after conceding, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 shots. You're going to need good box defenders. You're going to need someone that beats people that can really, put a shift in, put their necks on the line. That's not Pau Torres. Pau Torres is a great build-up starter. Let's put it that way. He's not amazing one-on-one, and he's quite slow at times. So I don't understand that signing at all. I mean, what do you make of their business? Because a lot of people are hyping it. I like DRB, but I don't love DRB.
I think DRB in the type of football Emery plays at times, the counter is really. There's not many better wingers you could get in transition.
Electric.
Yeah, there's not many better wingers you could get in transition, especially compared to like pairing with a Watkins on the break is dangerous. We saw it. We saw it be dangerous. We saw him score. We saw him get chances consistently in the first 10 to 15 off the break. But then Pau Torres, now that Mings is injured, I don't know how long for, will play a lot of football. As soon as he came on, they kind of changed. The second half, they allowed way too much in behind. Their backline stinks. Like their backline
really bad.
Is very poor. They allow too many men in between the gaps, and like Barnes and Wilson were in behind 2-on-1 with the keeper 3 times in the space of 15, 20 minutes. And they came off the bench. Like, you can't allow the same player be in the exact same position 3 times, and they only even made it twice out of the 3 or 4 times. They probably should have scored every single time. So I think they allowed too many easy chances, but they had a good time on the ball. Like after the first 25 minutes, they put their foot on the ball and they grew into the game, and they probably could have created chances. But with the Newcastle is that when you start allowing it to be end-to-end, so many transitions, Newcastle are just as powerful as any team in the league. If you're going to allow them to play that way on the break, but they still allow things going the other way. Newcastle defensively weren't great, and Watkins probably should have scored. I think if that game with a Buendia probably looks different, but then also if Harvey Barnes starts, then he just kills the fullback for 90. But Gordon himself actually had a good game. I just feel Newcastle have a very good squad. Having Harvey Barnes and Wilson come off the bench is better than
a lot of teams.
90% of the teams in Europe, let alone the league. Like Callum Wilson is a 15 to 20 league goal striker if he's fit. And when he's not fit, he still gets 15. So, and Harvey Barnes is a 10+ goal winger. Great in combination. Now in a top 4 caliber team, it's the best team he's ever played in. He's already got a goal and assist. It's interesting to see.
And he has the pace to actually do what Newcastle need him to do. He has enough pace there, because there will be times when Newcastle will just play bully ball transition.
They just got so much. Like, I think they just got so much levels to go. What happens when Livramento gets into this team? Joe Willett comes back from his injury. Will Wilson eventually start? Will Harvey Barnes eventually start? They just got so much prospect for better. And 5-1 on the first day is perfection. What do you think for Villa though? How do they regroup really after this? Because
they need to stop.
Probably the worst case scenario for the first game, 5-1 away from home to a team that when they were all talking before the game, Villa's going to challenge you, Eddie Howe. How are you going to respond? And then your leader in defense gets injured. We don't know how long for, and you get your -4 now in the goal difference. So, what do you?
The first thing that needs to happen is to prevent the spaces between the lines. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why he plays this vacated system where there's so much space in the middle of the pitch. Like there's so much space for teams to exploit in transition, because he plays, especially when he's going forward. If he's playing, I think he's going to have to tell his teams, look, we're going to have to go back to traditional Emery ball, 4-4-2, everyone behind the ball, hit in transition, hit DRB, hit Watkins. You can't have. He doesn't have the defenders to play his expansive Emery ball when he plays this sort of, we're going to go forward and try to hit 4 past you and then play and get basically concede a goal or 2, but we'll still score 4. You can't play that against teams like Newcastle, because they will hurt you again and again. What about you? Would you think that there's a way to minimize the threat that they're going to face?
I think you can't play so fast at the start of
Mm,
games, uh, and then with the injury, just flattened the whole team. While Newcastle stayed upbeat, so they were just on different wavelengths really. Um, After the injury, they looked dead and buried, and that was still 2-1, which was a weird dynamic to see. Newcastle fans were still loud and getting happy and end to end and creating multiple chances. Like Villa had 16 shots, Newcastle 17, but it's just where they're taking the shots from, who's taking the shots. Like Villa, Newcastle created much higher XG because their shots were like 2-on-1 with the keeper square. If Wilson misses, it's still a 0.5 XG chance. Because he did miss one, I think because Barnes just delayed it way too much. And that's just something they will learn about from playing with each other more. How early, how late, when to pass the ball, stuff like that is just stuff you will learn as you play with each other more. But yeah, I think there's upside for both teams. Um, Newcastle, just the upside is scary for me. Like,
yeah. Like you think if you deep it, their fullback depth is going to be Livramento and Tierney.
if they get Tierney, they've got Tierney, Dan Burn, who's the worst, but he's not the worst in the league, but he's
Mm,
the worst of the four. Tierney, Dan Burn, Livramento, and Trippier.
Trippier.
That's some of the best fullback depth in the league.
Yeah.
And then centre back and DM is really all they'll need to add, really.
I
And maybe
mean,
and a right
an
winger.
actual six, I think. An actual
I think
six.
the challenge and the next season to challenge for the league. Maybe they could this season. You never know. I don't think they will, but
Mm.
you really never know because if teams are gonna just play this open against them, they will dominate. They will take their chances because Newcastle are never really a 5-1 team, even when they were so great last season. 5 isn't what they used to get. They used to 1-0 teams, 2-0 teams. So to play this open, allow it to be a transition game, I think 90%, 99% of the league lose if you make it a transition match versus Newcastle. So if teams are going to do that, then
But do you not feel like, especially Villa, like the space that they left vacated on the transition really hurt them? Like I feel
mm,
that's the major takeaway from this game, especially because they tried to go bar for bar with them.
yeah,
Like they tried to go, we'll score, you score. We're going to play NLD 4-2, and
and
we
they
score,
lost.
and they lost heavily.
So
So if there's one takeaway from a Villa perspective, it's just like don't do that, don't do that. Try and play Villarreal versus Bayern Munich.
yeah,
That
like
that that's the way you got to treat this league for a bit until you find out what happens with Mings, or you find another defender that actually can defend it in those situations.
Emery hasn't been the greatest of defensive transitions ever, really.
No,
He's implemented a good block at times where you sit deep and you break on the counter. But when he's on the halfway line, like Villa were, um, he gets done a lot, I think,
a
against
lot.
a very good team. And they won't face teams as good as Newcastle throughout the season. They won't.
No, of course not.
You'll get other teams, and I want to see how he plays against a settled block rather than a end-to-end game. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think those were the three notable games. Obviously,
I,
Palace dominated Sheffield United. Uh, Expected they probably could have
I mean,
scored more.
I only caught match of the day for that. So, as if there's anything interesting that
I
happened
just
in that
hope,
game,
I really hope IU is not the right winger this season because Elite is going to Chelsea. It looks
yeah,
like £35 million. I've said on Twitter that I want Jezron Raksaki to be the starter, the new right winger, because Malcolm and Beal is injured. So yeah, Jezron Raksaki should be the starter, right winger. He got 23 goals and assists last season on loan from Palace to Charlton. Charlton fans have fell in love with him. They still post comps of him today, like the Charlton account. They still post comps of him till now. He's linked to Leicester and Birmingham. So
oh, we've lost him for a sec. Yes, I do have a buzz cut, Nick. That is correct. Um, I want to see with this Crystal Palace this season. I do want to see how they rebuild after Elise leaves because I mean, we'll wait for Chris to come back. But the main thing for me with Crystal Palace will be, is Hodgson still going to be there? Is there going to be something that happens with that situation? I don't know. They tried to implement their assistant after Vieira left, and he didn't really pan out that well. But when you have, for example, the depth of Araxoi, and you have Ibioe as well on that right wing, it's not exactly the most challenging thing to dictate what to do with the Elise money. You have to go and get something, a 9, and I still think that Eddie should be on their radar. They really should. If you're going to reinvest that money, you will have. And Eddie would be great for them. I really do feel like he'll be able to get them up. I mean, of course, that's probably a bit of bias in there, but just genuinely, there's not a lot of strikers in this league. When we talked about how after Haaland, it's probably Isak now that Kane's left. I mean, there's not a lot of 9s. I mean, Wilson is there if you really want to go and get him, but I think he's happy in Newcastle. Seriously, you guys as well. Name me some 9s, guys. Like who could? I mean, Hugo Ekitike, I think was almost Everton at one point. I think he'd be great. But yeah, genuinely, there's not a lot of 9s, especially for a team like Palace. Like you could have got a Luis Openda, for example, or even a Balogun. You know what I mean? There's not that many full-on 9s for Crystal Palace. But again, I didn't watch this game. Chris did, so I can't really comment on it. But the next game we do have to talk about is this Bournemouth West Ham game. And Bournemouth, I said before, I still think they'll finish top half. I think they'll finish 10th. I mean, why he's good? I mean, he's a bit controversial, isn't he, that kid? But he could be. I think, yeah. I mean, anyone else got any suggestions? I mean, I think that those two are that's a Palace and Eddie would be a pretty good match, I reckon. Yeah, actually, you know what I mean. I mean, but this is the thing. A lot of these deals, for example, we just got Rare with a loan with obligation, almost pretty much a very easy option to buy. I think a lot of teams are going to start doing these kinds of deals. But yeah, with the whole 9 talk, I don't think there's many 9s out there that could really provide Palace with a good foundation to build on. Because this is the other thing. I mean, we'll talk transfers another day, but just to answer this quickly while we wait for Chris, we don't need a 9 at the moment. I think if there was a 9 signing, we'd have to let go of both Eddie and Balogun, and then we're talking. But then again, do you not think that there's? I mean, yeah, this is obviously a great answer, but Brighton, will they sell him? Will they not sell him? And he's back. Are you back, Chris? Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, my internet.
internet went. We were just talking about 9s that Palace could get.
They
And
can't afford.
They can't afford Evan Ferguson. That's what I was going to say. Evan Ferguson's going to go for crazy money because it's Brighton. Someone mentioned Wahib. I think that's a
prospect, though.
That's a prospect. And then we talked about Gonzalo Ramos for a bit. But
I think Eddie's the one.
Eddie's the one, right? That's what I think.
In London. He fits with their what they're trying to go for, younger players with Eze, and they've got a good academy. So hopefully they'll eventually start using their academy and not just.
I mean, what did you? I mean, I was about to move on to Bournemouth, but just since you're back, what did you make of? What do you want to do? What do you think Palace should do with your lease money?
I think they should try get a right back and keep Gueye. Don't let Chelsea get Gueye because Chelsea want Gueye again. So I think they try seal that Lewis Hall deal if it's still on the table, and that looks like it's stalled because I was hearing here we go soon, and then I haven't heard anything for like a week plus.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening with Lewis Hall, where he's gonna play. So if you're gonna play him centre mid with Cheek Decore and
Then
Eze,
again,
however
Chick
you call
Decore
it.
could be off as well. Don't forget.
Exactly. So I think they need to try retain their players, and then I'm not sure who they're gonna. I would try get a left winger and promote
Mm,
one of the right wingers, or I would. Okay, I would actually promote both wingers, but I think they try get a winger and promote one
yeah.
uh, because Jason Raksaki was the best player for a team in League One. Um, and he's got 20, as I said, 23 goals and assists. So I think he'll have a lot of success as a starting right winger for Palace. Malcolm Abiaway was great for Rooney's derby. So yeah, I think they need a right winger striker.
What about Raksui though for right wing?
Raksaki,
Mm.
he's going to be. I think if they don't promote him, then I don't know who in the academy has a chance of
But
getting
then
promoted.
we were talking a bit earlier about the Palace pathway being a bit wonky
It is.
from
It's
academy.
non-existent. It is non-existent because if a player can go on loan, get 23 goals and assists, then the starting player in this position disappears, and the backup is I don't know how old Ayu is, but he's not good enough. Well, regardless of his age, then he should have a chance. He was on the bench last season, so I'm inclined to believe he has a chance. Um, I mean, the bench last weekend versus Sheffield, he was on the bench, so I'm inclined to believe he has a chance to start, a chance to play, earn his way in. So I think Jason Raksaki is the way. He's the move.
Yeah,
If you don't go Malcolm Mbiwe who's injured, then Jason Raksaki has to be
yeah,
the move.
has to be it. Yeah,
You can't spend money like when you have those type of players in there. Like we had Saka, we have players that can save you money. Those two to me look like players that can save them money. So they have to go with them. But yeah, Palace dominated. Hopefully they do that more this season, man.
yeah.
I need
All
them
right,
to
let's move on to Bournemouth because Bournemouth West Ham 1-1
Solanke.
draw. Solanke,
Solanke's the man. He's
yeah,
proper striker. He's another player Palace could look at, but that's not really a level increase to him. If
no,
they do what I think they'll do. Yeah, but Dominic Solanke is a good, very good striker. He does a lot for that Bournemouth team. The channel runs, the link up, even the finishing. I think he's very, very important to a team that wants to do challenge for mid-table. Obviously, with the changes, the change of style of play, they're not really lump up top with Kiefer Moore anymore. It doesn't really suit them
no.
anymore. So now they try to play through the thirds with the ball on the floor. So hopefully that just leads
What
to more.
do you not find that the how aggressive they were, especially in their counter pressing, was surprising? I found that was the most like
I,
for a Bournemouth team
I caught
was
their
very
last. I watched the highlights of their last like one or two preseason games, and they were very aggressive.
mm,
I watched that before we did our predictions,
yeah,
which is why I didn't really rate the build up because the build up is just something they have to learn. It's something these players have never done, so they weren't really as good on the ball. They weren't really as confident on the ball, and it's something they probably 2/3 throughout the season will be good at it. But now they're not really the greatest. But yeah, with the industrious wingers they have and just the like the Jaden Anthony's of the world who are just diligent defensively, it just suits the press, I think. Yeah,
mm,
and guys like Solanke have been played in top teams, so he has been pressing. Like him leading your press is very good for you
yeah.
compared to the other players because he's played for like Chelsea's, Liverpool's. So yeah, I think Bournemouth have a good chance of being
I said it
on
before.
the table.
I think they finished 10th personally.
I think they finished below Palace though, so I can't put them 10th though.
Yeah, I have Palace as Palace always in 12th, but that's a different story. But what do you make of West Ham? I mean, their business is started finally.
I like
Ward-Prowse
what I'm
looks,
hearing about them moving Bowen Central.
yeah,
I
that's
think
definitely something that's going to happen.
that suits them a lot more as a second striker. I think him being touchline or right winger isn't
It
the
takes
best
away from
position
what
for
he's
him.
best at.
when he has success, it's when the ball's bouncing down on the edge of the box, and he can just take snapshots or has time in and around the box. Because I think he works a lot better in the box and out the box, and we just see his finishing under pressure. Even in the final, we saw his finishing under pressure in the 90th minute to win it. So I think guys like Bowen is perfect for them to move central. Yeah, and Ward Prowse is Moyes' player. They're gonna score the most set piece goals this season. If they get the Maguire deal has fallen through, sadly. I want West Ham to struggle. No, I don't really care for West Ham, like negatively and positively. So I just like to see guys like Moyes have success, like proper Brexit
Yeah,
deal.
I mean, for me, I had me and Chris and George, all three of us watched Declan pretty much week in week out for like 2 seasons straight. I have kind of a weird affection for West Ham, even though they were super annoying this summer, and I just needed them just to chill. But
I think this would have been a great move. He would have suited Moyes perfectly.
yeah,
Suited having a delivery like James Ward-Prowse from free kicks and corners.
I mean, James Ward-Prowse is probably the perfect Moyes midfielder. Let's be real.
Yeah, he's diligent on the ball and he's got great ball, like elite ball striking. So I think that would have been great for them. And having someone like Maguire turn this down for 30 mil is really poor, in my opinion. I'm not sure why exactly he's not doing it. Why he's not moving?
It's a monetary thing. I think, pretty sure.
Oh, he wants the 200k.
No, I think he wants a payout from United to accept lower wages. I think that's what's being said.
Wow.
Because he doesn't mind the move, but he wants to be able to be paid out for the salaries that he's going to miss out on.
Because he's earning 200k for another 2 years.
Yeah. So there's no reason for him to leave.
I actually understand him.
I do too. I don't like if I was a United fan, obviously he'd be pissed, but
I wouldn't actually. I'm just very understanding of what.
And the other thing is, like, why is he getting all the stick and not the people that gave him this deal?
Exactly. Why are they giving him the money? Is
Maguire objectively bad?
No.
Maguire
is a good player.
He's a very good player.
He's a very good player. I think give him the reins in the defense. That's deeper. Like I think, even though he can play in the high line, I think he'll actually suit him a bit to be a bit deeper, a bit closer to his keeper, have more time on the ball. I don't think teams will high press a centre back partnership with him and Zuma. That will be one of the better centre back partnerships in the league, actually. Maguire and Zuma, if it happens.
You think? I think. What about Aguerd? I mean, what's going on with him?
I don't know which one of them plays, but again, that's three. That's three very good centre backs.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is like I know a lot of people would love. I would love, for example, Maguire to come here, especially because we'd have to pay a premium. We'd have to pay a premium. We'd have to, not just that. The only thing you can say is maybe he can be the central centre back in our 3-man build up. We'd kind of miss that profile. We've got one at the moment in Saliba, but
I'm not sure. Like I think Maguire's a good player. A very good player, and probably in our system looks better than he did at United with more protection. But I can't do it, man. I don't really like signing for. Like I didn't like.
It's not even just that. I'm not okay. I like having centre backs that understand what their roles are and a lot more than what I think Maguire would with us. I think Maguire with us, I don't know if he's able to switch into that high line mentality that we have. I don't think that's going to be.
I think he might be able to, but physically, like he'll get caught out at times. A lot more than a Gabriel. I think Gabriel is very underestimated what he does to us physically and aerially.
Just his channel defending.
Yeah, like versus Liverpool last season where we literally hid Zinchenko by having Gabriel defend 1v1 for pretty much 90 minutes. And the one time they got Zinchenko 1v1, they scored. So we definitely hid him for a reason. But even versus Nottingham Forest, as soon as Gabriel came on, we started to deal with Wood and our knee a lot better because our knee was causing Saliba and White problems. They're just more
Yeah.
lightweight. They're more lightweight. They're a bit fast. They're a bit more. I don't know what the word is, but
They cover space more than they cover their man better.
like indoors against a big target man is not where you want White or Saliba.
Yeah.
And Saliba's probably developing that, and White hasn't done it in a while. White has been defending 1v1 against wingers for a year now, so it was not really natural to him to go back to centre back, even though he drifts centre back, but it's just different where you have to stay there for 90. But yeah, Gabriel was a different beast to what we have. And Maguire doesn't replicate what he does physically for us. But in aerially, Maguire's one of the best centre backs in the league.
Yeah, in the league, yeah.
And he scores a lot of goals. So again, for West Ham, he would have been perfect, really, for me.
I still think he could be, I just
I
think
hope
that,
he is.
that deal is too good for both sides to turn down.
Yeah, I really hope he sorts it out because I really want to see him get fit. Maybe he won't get 38 games, but get a lot of minutes. Europa League
And
as well.
honestly, if we're going to challenge for the Euros, we need him playing games. I mean, I like Levi, but we both know that Gareth's going to pick
And we're
Maguire.
going to speak about Levi anyways, because
Yeah,
he wasn't the best left centre back in the world. Like
he was not.
some people say he is.
Where do you want to go next? Do you want to go Everton
Tottenham.
or Tottenham? I mean, should you want to do
Everton
that?
Fulham was a good game actually. I think Everton in transition were great. Fulham just score more goals than them. That really was the difference. When they had their chance, they took it, and Everton didn't take their chances. They had so many shots. Patterson should have scored. Mope should have scored. Iwobi had a great shot saved by Leno. Leno had 9 saves, I think. Something crazy like that. He was
the main thing I saw from this game was the service score of Leno. I think he had like a 9.5.
9.5. Yeah, he had some crazy. But yeah, Iwobi was great in that game. Leno was ridiculous in that game.
I was very close to playing Iwobi in FPL, I was very close to playing.
He didn't score though.
Yeah, he didn't score. He had a great game though.
Leno got 12 points in FPL.
I mean, I had Onana, so the amount of shots
got 9 anyways. That's 6 saves. But yeah, I think in these type of positions, you're gonna need a great keep. The keeper will save you sometimes. Ramsdale has saved us, and Leno saved them. You will see a keeper. He will do this again at least 3 more times this season. Leno will do that. And yeah, I saw a lot of people say he saw Mope and just turned into prime Buffon. He was saving any and everything that was coming at him. But yeah, Leno had a great game. But then yeah, the difference really was that the Cordova-Reed chance, that clear-cut chance he put away, and Everton didn't put away their clear-cut chances. I think with the Calvert-Lewin, it looks better, and I can see why a lot of us predicted them to finish higher up the table. But again, you have to take chances. It's similar to Wolves. You have to take your chances. Like, you can't keep wasting that many chances, and they did, and they got punished for it. But yeah, there's some hope there for Everton actually, compared to some points in last season where they thought it was all doom and gloom. With Deitch, they've got a decent block now. They still got a lot of gaps, and Fulham work their way around it. But in transition, they're ridiculous. Like on the break with Decore or Nana, Iwobi, Patterson, even though Patterson's wasteful, but he's a fast player. Calvert-Lewin to come in, James Garner. Like, I think they create chances. Will they score a lot of them? Probably not. But they need to though. That's what I think.
100%. Yeah.
They have to start scoring. But yes, it bodes well for both teams actually. That game, it looked good for both teams. But yeah, that was a nice. What was it? 3 o'clock, right? That was a 3 o'clock. Yeah, that was a nice 3 o'clock game. But yeah, on to Sunday. What did you?
These are the 2 games I rewatched both games. I found both very interesting, especially the Chelsea game. But for me, the Brentford Spurs game, I think that Postecoglou has his work cut out for him, but there are some good signs. I think Maddison, he looks like he'll do well for him. I think that is something that they will do. I think Bissouma needs to release quicker. I think that's the main takeaway from his performance. I think he had a good defensive performance. There's times, especially when you're doing that sort of 2/3 of the way up the pitch, back and forth, try and prize the openings. You need him to release quicker. So Ange will not sell Son. Ange has Ange has just made Son his captain. So no, Ange will not sell Son.
I think Son could be very important.
He could be very important. Yeah.
I think we'll see shifts of him up top. Just because of how he plays his strikers, that they're always on the shoulder. And that is Son as a striker. He doesn't really drop in deep. He doesn't really want his striker to drop in deep, but off the shoulder, I think we could see Son do some damage up top. Richarlison had chances. And he will have chances as a striker for this team. And when he does have them, does he take them consistently? I'm not sure. But yeah, I think Ange has a lot of upside.
I do like Adogi. I think that he's another one
Destiny.
that he looks decent. I mean, this is the thing. It's one game, so you can't really take into account what exactly. It's just a start. But from what this one game showed, there were a couple of performances. I'm like, okay, I can see what he's trying to play. Bissouma, obviously, I think is a very good player. We both have, as well as Chris have said in the past, we would have liked if we'd signed him instead of back in the day. Yeah, as well as George, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
But the
I
thing
think
is,
they have a good midfield. We did speak about off camera, like what level their midfield is. Bissouma, Matissa, and Maddison is a top mid. It's a very good midfield. With upside, they
balanced.
Balanced midfield, but none of them are at their peak yet.
No.
They've all got ways to go. So if this midfield stays together, hopefully for a couple years, 2-3 years, we don't know what they will be. Pape Matar looks like
it's that back line that worries me. That Vicario doesn't inspire me with confidence. Romero is still the same Romero. He
very rash.
Very rash. Scored and got a concussion. That was an interesting combo. But
Eric Dyer is old now, and he was never really the greatest. He was the DM that dropped into the centre back playing a free, but now he's not really a good centre back keeper. So they need centre back additions, and Reguilon's a good addition back in the team. Hopefully he has some success. But yeah, I think they've got potential. Again, we just don't know what it will look like consistently, because I think at the end of August, probably we would have seen 4 games, 3-4 games, and we'll have a better idea of what these teams will look like. Because I think 4 games worth of 490s is really a good amount of time to judge a manager's plans, because over that time you probably see them play a team in every level of the league. Like you probably see them play like a top 4 contender, mid-table, relegation. Like you probably see at least one of each, and how they respond, how they attack away from home and at home. So yeah, I think Spurs looked good. Brentford, as I assumed, would look decent without Tony. They sat well in their block and they broke very well. They got a bit of luck with their second goal, but you need luck sometimes in these types of games. They were 2-1 up actually. But yeah, I think I'm not surprised they did this. I think they sat well in their block and they allowed Tottenham to create decent chances, but not many teams will take a lot of chances. As we saw this weekend, a lot of teams don't score many goals. Like they waste a lot of chances. Everton, Wolves, Villa. There's a lot of teams in and around the league that are wasting a lot of chances. So
yeah,
if a team like Brentford take their chances when they get them with Mbeumo, and they probably could have got third. So with Mbeumo and Wissa, yeah, they will have some success. Wissa was in my FPL, by the way. I think you have 10 plus goals this season.
Yeah, Wissa's a good shout. I mean, the main thing I took away from this Brentford performance is Thomas Frank is still going to be Thomas Frank. That 5 at the back, line up and hit in transition. That is his bread and butter, and he knows how to set up a team to really take advantage, especially against big teams, because they'll try and press, they'll try and go up, they'll try and go high, and it'll be a different dynamic because Tony obviously is more of an aerial threat that you can get the knockdowns and then move your team up the pitch. But this is more we're gonna basically just hit behind and get runs in and try and hit the channels and really try and get you into situations that you're running back and tracking back consistently. The other thing I think about Brentford is obviously, as someone's mentioned in the comments already, David Raya going. I don't think that they had a massive drop off. I think they had some drop off from what happened last season. But what did you make of their new goalkeeper?
I think until I see him try to play passes to Tony, he's not really what he will be playing passes to. Like, I think his pass selection will change when you have one of the
a more
best,
dominant aerial threat up
one of
top.
the best aerial threats in the league.
100%.
Someone you can consistently trust to put it in an area and he could bring it down, not just right on his chest. Just put it in the left half space and Tony has a chance really. So yeah, I think his distribution will change. But yeah, I think he was very confident on the ball, very relaxed on the ball. I think he was consistent actually, short range. Mid to long range is just different because the targets he has, the areas like Whistle was picking up the ball in, isn't the area he will pick up when Tony's there. So I just think until Tony is there and the player he's passing to changes, it will be intriguing to see. Like similar to Onana, we know he's great on the ball, but he doesn't have Dzeko or Lukaku there anymore. He's playing long balls to Rashford, so we rarely saw the ball straight down the middle to the striker. That ball isn't something you can trust anymore. So I think with Tony, it just changes his choice. But yeah, I think it was decent. I don't think it's rubbish. But
as opposed to the other goalkeeper in Vicario, I just think why they weren't playing Raya today instead of against Brentford instead of us signing him today, I don't know. I think that the Vicario is going to be interesting, as well as Van der Ven. I think Van der Ven, look, it's going to be interesting. I think that Spurs defense is going to be pretty leaky, and it'll be interesting to see how Ange tries to adapt to that, because his Celtic teams were always on the front foot, always very aggressive, but they weren't dickheads in defense. Basically, they weren't idiots. They were they knew how to defend, and they wouldn't let themselves get bypassed. But this current defense is currently made up. Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie, and Emerson is just not good. Not a good defense at the most, with Vicario behind him.
Before we move on to the best or the big game, the Super Sunday, what do you think? I think 50.
I think 45. I think 40 to 45 for me.
I think 50 just because of how small his contract is. Like his contract.
How many years has he got left?
One as next year, one.
Is it one?
I think it's one. 1 or 2 next year.
I think it's 2, isn't it?
Let me double check. Look, like next summer, not now, because I think it's 2 now. Wait, Evan Tony.
In any case, in terms of Romero, it looks like he went through concussion protocol. So I don't know.
2 now, yeah. So next summer is going to be 1.
Yeah. So yeah, I think 45, maybe 50.
Yeah,
stretch.
50 more.
I think something will happen in Jan. Maybe I think that's one of the moves.
You think they sell in Jan or a new contract in Jan?
One of the two, basically. I think either they try and get a good profit because it's 18 months, and there will be teams. I think Chelsea will be interested, especially because we'll talk in a second about Chelsea, but they still don't have a striker. So
Mount Havertz had a bigger contract, and Chelsea's the best-selling team in the world.
Yep.
Apart from maybe Dortmund and Leipzig, Chelsea's really up there with the best sellers. It's just where does he go to level up, really?
I think he goes Chelsea.
I would say Tottenham is where Tottenham should try get him January or now.
I don't trust Chelsea in terms of goals this season, though. I like Jackson, but I don't see him getting 20 goals this season. Do you? Because they need a 9 desperately.
I don't think many 9s can get 20 without pens.
He will be on pens though.
Jackson's taking pens.
No, Tony will be on pens.
Oh, Tony. I think if Tony played for Chelsea, he'd get a lot of goals. But I think Jackson
But
mainly
Jackson for me,
mainly
I
young
don't.
players.
Does he get the goals? That's what I'm saying. He's
Yeah,
a very good player. He seems like
I think
he's
he
playing
gets.
well.
I think he gets the
Yeah,
goals. Well, yeah, I think he does. Sadly, um, I think he looked
I
very
think
good versus Liverpool. I think this
he
is a
did look
good
very good
transition.
yesterday.
I
Yeah,
think
this
it's
is a
just
very
a
good transition. Yeah,
very good transition. I think he looked very good versus Liverpool, and he was brilliant in transition. He carried them up the pitch very well when they couldn't build at times. He just brought the ball up, just running with sometimes but sometimes he's running with Konate on his shoulder and he's just still running with the ball. I think indoors he was great. He probably should have scored because Reece James and Sterling's combination created 2 free cutbacks for him. The first one was a good save, good smother from Allison, and the second one he just put over the bar. But yeah, I think his finishing needs to become a bit more consistent. I think he has
yeah.
a lot of time with the situation Chelsea's in. They've probably accelerated their predictions and their projections. Them spending what was it, 170 on the midfield. Them spending 170 now on their midfield of Tony and man's a Tony, Lavia and
And
Caicedo.
Caicedo.
Yeah, them spending 170 on that midfield now. Liverpool really lost that war, by the way. But them spending that 170 on that midfield accelerates the projection for this team, like how long they have to succeed, how long they
No,
have to.
it's got to be top four. They don't have the 9. They don't have the goalkeeper to challenge for the title. It's just not happening.
Mm.
Um,
I don't even think
I,
it's a nine. I just think Reece James. I don't know what Reece James will do, but I don't think. I think Malo Gusto when he came on, there was a drop off,
yep. No, there was.
even though
But
people really
the
rate
main
him.
thing tactically in this Chelsea game that we have to talk about for me anyway is the Chelsea backline and the spacing. I felt that there was a lot of times when they were just thought they'll put Chilwell in sort of like central midfield zones, try to track Trent. I don't know if you got that as well.
I was
Uh,
crying for Thiago Silva to be taken off the pitch.
Oh, he was awful. He was really bad.
Not even him being awful. Just look when I looked at Chelsea on the ball, and
You can't play for me. You can't play Thiago Silva and Disasi together. It's just not something you can do.
but I think the only reason is because they were waiting for Caicedo. I don't think when Caicedo is back, we ever see a free again. But I think Poch playing a free obviously to protect themselves against Liverpool's offense is
But they still
smart.
left massive spaces.
Mm.
They still that's what I'm saying. They played a 3, but the space between Colwill, right, and Chilwell at times. Chilwell would sometimes be either a left wing or sometimes be in come inside centrally, or you'd see a space between Colwill and the centre back as well.
But
And
Cole really was 1v1 with Salah,
yeah,
uh,
a
a lot
lot.
of times, and Salah was getting in behind him a couple of times. The one time he did was offside,
Hmm.
and Cole purposefully stepped up, so I think he did well there. But I don't think he won that duel really well. And Cole, again, even when he's on the ball, he loves to cut off the pitch and step to the middle, like drive a bit to the middle and play long passes to the right back or the right winger. It's something he did at times to Sterling. But yeah, I think the back three just takes away Cole's aspects on the ball a bit just because of how wide he has to play his passes from. The distance is just bigger. So the big switch wasn't really there at all until he stepped into midfield and Thiago Silva allowed him. I think Chilwell, Cole, Disasi, Reece James is a good back line. I think Disasi isn't the greatest on the ball, but offensively he will get them goals. We saw him get them a goal. And then, yeah, the midfield is probably now Nkunku, Enzo, Caicedo. I think Lavia's overkill. Like signing Ugochukwu, then Lavia, plus all the other Brazilians they signed.
Santos.
Yeah, it doesn't. Carney's still there. You did get Loftus Cheek out of the way, but Gallagher's still here. Lewis Hall still to come back or go. I don't know. He wants to play in midfield, so I'm not sure what they
Oh,
do with the midfield.
did you see?
Uh,
I mean, well, it'll be a nice transition to the United game. But did you see the Ornstein?
nope, don't see Bomber. No.
No.
But yeah,
Goddamn League Gunner, man.
I
But
think, but I think Liverpool Liverpool to look that bad versus this Chelsea team because I think Chelsea
I think Enzo had a really
could
good
have
game.
won
Enzo had a really good game for
a
me.
great game. We spoke
Really
about
good
it in the
game.
timeline.
Like for me, both him and Gallagher. I think Gallagher had a really underrated game personally. I've never seen Gallagher have be in those 6 zones
and he was very comfortable there.
comfortable. You know what I mean? Like just showing for the ball,
But also Liverpool's midfield
just
helps.
keeping
Like
it ticking. Yeah, yeah.
Liverpool's midfield choice of having Gakpo there, just put him on the bench,
The
mate.
pressing structure made no sense from Liverpool. It
But
legitimately.
Gakpo doesn't want to be in midfield off the ball. Like there
No,
was
and
multiple times he was
I don't
replacing.
know if you noticed he was in sort of left midfield zone, not
That's
in
what I'm saying. I'm
left.
saying
Yeah.
he would sometimes I'll just see him run to the front to replace Jota
Mm,
and leave a gap for Reece James or Gallagher or Sterling just to receive in the right half
yeah.
space alone. And he just vacated a lot. He just didn't want the
Like
responsibility of
imagine that
being that
Saka,
midfielder.
or even imagine that Saka. If
But
he was receiving those spaces and he
he
can
doesn't
run at
want to. But
Robertson,
one, he doesn't want to be there. But two, like at least do it. But Gakpo just doesn't want to be. He's not natural in those roles, and he didn't look good at all. He didn't get really involved in
he
the
couldn't
ball.
time his jumps at all. Like his
I think
jumps, he couldn't time.
Soboslai was good on the ball at times. His
Mm.
carrying was actually decent. He probably should have taken more shots. And it's nice to have a right footer with Salah instead of a left footer that just wants to sit in the same zones Salah wants to sit in. Like Salah was allowed inside a lot more, which led to the goal. Like that was just a world-class pass, really.
Mm.
The pass was perfect. Diaz couldn't really mess it up, and Diaz still isn't his confident 1v1 self. He didn't take on Disasi at all. 1v1. Even if they left him isolated 1v1, he tried with Reece James, and Reece James just sent him back. Like he couldn't do nothing against Reece James. But when he had Disasi isolated, I thought he'd try it more. But yeah, Liverpool are a very direct team, way too direct. They couldn't keep the ball. I think versus Chelsea team that leave so many gaps, you have to slow down the game at times, and Liverpool can't do that.
So you just got a
They don't
bunch
have
of news.
they don't have Enzo to put his foot. Liverpool don't have Enzo to put
No,
his foot on the ball. They need an Enzo. They need an Enzo. They need a Rice, a Party, a Rodri.
no, but
Just a
even
player to put his
forgetting the
foot on the ball.
personnel, right?
I'm not
The
saying that.
actual
By the way, I'm not saying caliber. I'm just saying someone at times that
profile.
will just slow the game down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Um,
even without the personnel, right? The ability to just be compact between the lines was just not there. They left a massive box for Enzo and Gallagher just to pop up and receive, pop up and receive, pop up and receive. And Enzo, you gave Enzo that space, and he's gonna dominate. And what was strange to me was it was kind of like a fusion between really like old Klopp, like 2017 Klopp, and 2022 Klopp. It wasn't like, because there were times when you were just thinking, why isn't Trent jumping here? If Trent jumps in possession and takes Chilwell on 1-on-1 and draws him inside, you leave the space open for Salah to make that outside touch line and run into the space. There's so many ways you could actually exploit the way, like just as that disallowed goal happens, because Trent comes inside, plays the ball in behind, and Salah can make the run in behind, and it's just off. That situation you could have made that 10-15 times easily. That same situation, and that because the spacing between I'm going to keep harping on about this, Chilwell, Colwell, and the central centre back, really poor, really poor. So
how do you think they changed that though? Because Caicedo isn't fit, is he? He's not fit.
no.
Well, I don't believe so. So he won't play this weekend. So we'll probably see the same three. So how do you think they play?
For me, anyway, if it was me, I would abandon this three at the back nonsense. That's the main thing I would say. I would say have Cole will have your left centre back. Have him actually look at from the
So,
from the
so
pitch from the middle and not from wide zones.
that is what he wants to do, yes. But say you do go for a 4,
Mm.
I assume you're dropping Silva.
Yep.
So who replaced him in midfield?
Who replaces who in midfield?
Silva for a midfielder.
Yeah. So
Who's the midfielder that you bring in to replace Thiago Silva?
Carney probably, or I'll say Carney. So you could have Silva, Enzo
I don't
Carney.
think he had a great game, by the way.
I don't think he had a great game either, but for me, I can see Enzo, Gallagher, Carney being manageable. You know, that could be a 3 that can work. I think that I don't like Carney as a 10. I don't think that's going to be something that's going to.
With them two, you will have to be that.
Yeah, no, I think you can push Gallagher a bit forward, make Gallagher into that second striker role, and then have Carney be a bit deeper.
But all pre-season they pushed Carney.
Carney up, and I don't like it. I don't. That's what I would do personally. That would be how because I don't see Carney as a 10. If Carney for me is a box to box 8, I think that's the best way to describe him. I don't see him as an out and out 10. I don't think he has the creativity to do that. If anything, if you want a creative 10, the most likely solution would probably be Enzo in the.
I don't think
But he
Carney
doesn't.
sees
You miss his build up opportunities then.
I don't
So
think Carney sees the pitch well enough to be a 10.
no.
Like from that high up, playing ahead of the ball. I don't think with that little time he sees the passes well enough. Like, for example, he picked up a nice layoff pass from Jackson, and he could have played. He played it obviously to the touchline, but he could have played a ball in between the centre mid and the centre back into the box for Sterling, I believe it was, and he just doesn't see them type of passes. But yeah, I think Chelsea have a ways to go. I don't know who their left winger will be. I think the right winger combination of Sterling and James looked perfect.
Yeah,
They should have scored from it. They should have scored from that a couple times, and they created very well. They made Robertson look like a cone. He just couldn't handle the pace, regardless of who was on the overlap. Robertson couldn't handle the pace, and that's one of the best left backs in the league. So I struggle to see how other teams stop that combination. But I think Jackson looked good. Him and Sterling and James combined well. But then when the fourth player comes in like for cutbacks or nothing, they didn't take them chances. Chilwell scored the second goal, which was disallowed, but that was great from Enzo again. Great from Sterling, actually, who had a great game. What do you make of Sterling right winger? Because
I think he's much better.
I've long said he's better there. He just sees the pitch better. It restricts the amount of space he could dribble into. I just think when you limit what him and similar to Leroy Sané, you just limit, you take away certain angles. I think they just look a lot better. So if touchdown right winger.
The other thing is, right,
or inside sometimes.
As good as Sterling was, and he was very good on Sunday, I think we mentioned earlier about Gakpo and his positioning. That gave him the space to operate. Yeah. And that for me is really, you're giving one of the best Premier League wingers for the past 10 years space to operate in. And he give him that space.
When he's not even high on confidence.
He's not even high on confidence. You're giving him that space to really run at you. And bless him, Randy Robertson. I don't know what Klopp is thinking with him. I think there needs to be a lot of change in this Liverpool team, and we should talk about it. But for me, Andy Robertson, you can't have him. You have to have him as an aggressive left back. You can't have him in those left centre back zones that Klopp has been having him in. He's build up left centre back. He's not Tierney. Okay, he's not that. That's not who he is. So,
and he's never even been asked to do that in Scotland. Like Tierney is the centre back, and he's the left wing. But I think Trent dropping into midfield didn't look the greatest. I think their midfield is actually awful.
I think. But the thing is, do you not think that if they reverted back to Trent being more aggressive, in possession monster that he used to be, I feel like they reverted back to like 2022 early before they did the whole inverted right back thing, where he was sort of trying to creep up the pitch, but not doing it, being aggressive enough where he could actually affect in their opposition half. Like he could have been more involved. He should have been more involved, especially with the spaces on that left side.
But which player in that midfield is willing to allow him to do that? Like,
it had to be Szoboszlai. It had to be.
He's not willing to do that.
He's not willing to. This is the problem.
The players aren't willing to concede.
There was no willingness to have a midfielder overlap.
I think the reason why a Joe Willock or Nicola Barella would have been perfect for them. One, the running power is different, but at times they would have sat. They would have waited they would have allowed Trent to go forward. They would have allowed Trent and Salah to combine. Even though Trent is the best deep crosser in the league, in the world, sometimes he wants to cross from the byline. Sometimes you have to rotate, allow him go to overlap Salah. He didn't really have the chance to do that. He had to stay deep. And defensively, he had a strong game, but offensively, he wasn't really involved as the best overlapping fullback in the world. Reece James was. What I wanted to ask you is that I'm seeing what people are proposing happens when they sign Caicedo and Lavia's not done yet, but
No,
it's looking like if they
it
get
will be done.
Caicedo and
Yeah.
Lavia,
LFC. You know what I mean?
yeah, LFC, big dig at Liverpool. I was seeing
Jesus
some projected
Christ.
lineups. The lineup is
Oh,
obviously
don't get
still.
me. Look.
Let me wait. Let me just say
Every
it for you.
lineup
Some people
maker,
didn't see it.
every lineup maker
Let me
needs to
say it.
be.
Let me
Go
say
on,
it.
go on, go on, go
Okay.
on.
Reece James and people just put a 3-2-5 in it because people are obsessed with it now. 3-2-2-3. Anyways, Reece James right centre back. Cole central centre back.
Yep.
Was it Disasi left centre back?
No, probably Badashil. No.
But it's still left centre back actually. Yeah. Caicedo and Enzo, Lavia and Olise. Olise, Madueke right wing, Modric left wing, and
Jackson up
top. What do you make of that lineup? Because for me, it's shocking.
Look, let's keep it simple. Okay? Every single lineup maker, build up lineup 11, chosen 11, all these guys, they need to have a capture asking people if they're Chelsea fans before they let them into the app. I don't know who does these things, but I've never seen a good one with Chelsea. I've been on social media for like 3 years now. I've never seen a single one where I'm like, you know what? That's not half bad. You know, I can see that working in and out of possession. Because you said it just before we got into the lineups. You've got one of the best overlapping fullbacks, and you're putting
The
him right
best,
centre
not
back.
one of. He's the best. He is the best overlapping fullback in the world. And your people are proposing he plays right centre back to allow two left footers to come inside and
It doesn't make any
both
sense.
want to drift central. If you had a Bukayo Saka, no. Yeah, maybe if you had a Bukayo Saka willing to hold the touchline, you could potentially say, oh, Reece James centre back. But for one game, no way for consistently. But anyways, Poch won't do that. But yeah, Chelsea looking like they have to challenge for top four.
They do have to challenge for top four.
I think top four is even nice considering they've spent $1 billion, even though we're in England. They've spent $1 billion in the past year. If they get Lavia done, because Caicedo is announced, and Liverpool look like they're going for João Palhinha.
João Palhinha, Czech Decore, look like Yusuf Fofana as well, Kone, Taram, the same names thrown about.
It's top five if the rules
it's
are
top five.
If we do one in Europe,
if England as a nation or whatever you want to call it does the best in Europe.
Yeah, if the English teams do the best in Europe.
Yeah. So basically, Chelsea have got to hope we have a nice Europe.
If it was based on last season, an English team, there would have been top 5 for England and top 5 for Italy because our teams did the best in Europe. But say we have say France do better than us in Europe, for example, or Germany, or Spain, for example, then it's one of them two. But the two of the top, is it top 5? Yeah, two of the top 5 leagues or top 6 leagues, however many leagues they chose, have to do best in Europe, and then their team gets a 5th. So it's not guaranteed that it's top 5, but it's looking likely that it's going to be top 5 for England. And they probably Chelsea have to get top 4, top 3. People just saying, oh, they signed all their players now, but they've spent $1 billion.
I mean, I think the best way to transition to this into the United game is to think, who do you think out of the 3 teams I think would be competing for that 4th to 6th spot, Chelsea, United, and Liverpool? What do you think the order will be at the end of the season?
Now, Chelsea 4th. I think Chelsea finish above United. Obviously, I had Brighton 4th, but Caicedo is not there anymore. I think Brighton could challenge for top 6 still, consider without Caicedo, but it would be a lot harder to play Europe and challenge on the league front without him. And Chelsea now have Caicedo, Lavia, Okuchukwu, Carney, Gallagher, Enzo. They've got very good, and Kunku when he's back, they've got good midfield options, but they've got no games off. They've got 38 games. maybe if they go far in FA Cup and League Cup, they've got 50 or so games, 40 something games. Well, they're playing second round. Yeah, they play
Yeah.
second round of both. So yeah, 50 or so games. So I think Chelsea have a levels to go, but they have to challenge for. They have to get fourth. I think Chelsea get fourth. United.
Say it. This is what happens before the predictions. By the way, this is the general process.
I'm really unsure on both of them because I don't know. I think Liverpool could get a DM.
Yeah, just as it currently stands. No one's holding you to it.
United, Liverpool, just because United will get them shitty results like that. Sorry for language for some people, but United will get that shitty result they got versus Wolves.
I mean, that is the perfect way to segue.
Consistently.
That is the perfect way to segue, isn't it? To
the last game.
To the how can I put it? The Cunha show with a final twist in the tail that kind of let it down. What did you make of actually just the structure of United's midfield?
Awful. I just thought I never thought it was going to be great. They have no good progressor, so they couldn't really
spacing though.
Bring the ball up. But I just think Mount wasn't bad or good. He just picked up the ball in positions he doesn't want to be in, and he can't really play with the ahead of the ball well consistently, and he's not great at picking up ball in the pocket. So he's not a 10. So Bruno has to be the highest, but Mount has to be higher. He can't be a double pivot, and then Casemiro can't progress the ball. Mount can't really progress the ball, and Bruno's the highest, so he won't progress the ball. So the progression was awful. Even though Casemiro had the most touches and passes on the pitch, he had 60-something passes. I think it's scary for a team at home challenging for the league to not have players with 60 passes consistently versus a relegation contender. Like, no one else apart from Casemiro and Shaw had more than 50 passes for United versus Wolves at home. So they can't put their foot on the ball. Gary O'Neill stabilized that team well. I think they did a good job of balancing that team. They just don't have goals, which is something that
we've said on the channel repeatedly. The relegation battles can be decided.
It's about who will get at the end of the last 10 teams will scrape goals. Wolves had 20 or so shots yesterday and couldn't score, and that will happen a lot of times this season. They don't have a Diego Costa or Raul Jimenez that you can trust minimum 8 goals if they play 38. With the amount of chances they're creating now, they could have scored 10 goals, and they're not going to get that. So yeah, I think Wolves looks good in general play, but they just can't score. But again, there's tax on this. United's midfield is not good. United's midfield allowed a lot of transitions. It was pure Ollie ball. Even though it's Ten Hag and people are loving it, it was Ollie ball. Like, that's how Ollie played. And then
I haven't seen a vacated midfield like that in a while.
They should have got a pen. They still got robbed. Wolves should have got a pen. Clear-cut penalty. And United somehow left the game with a 1-0 victory that they didn't deserve
at all.
The slightest.
I will say it was a good goal in terms of United's actual goal. Yeah, they found the space. They found the space in the box, got the cross in, and Varane had it at home. But there's two main things tactically to talk about. We're back to 505 football, people. We're back to the 5 defenders, 0 midfielders, and 5 attackers. And Bruno and Mount are just like, screw it, I'm not progressing the ball. You progress the ball, I'm not progressing the ball. And neither of them were dropping.
We predicted that would happen, and it's just
I mean,
players will always naturally, despite the instructions, there will be points in the game where they just do what they naturally want.
I mean, I'm seeing banter accounts. I'm seeing banter accounts post tactical boards saying there's no look at the space in midfield. I've never seen United fans.
People posting that the XG was better than ours, but we obviously spoke about why our XG was poor last game. But I think
if you want to watch if you watch our game, you watch their game, and you see who had more control. I dare you to say that
Usually had any control.
Yeah. So, but the other thing I would
talk about before we go though, do you think Amrabat changes?
I think Amrabat goes to Liverpool now. I think I remember.
I'm saying if he goes to United, how much does he change that?
It depends on how he structures it. He has to drop one of Mount or Fernandez then.
Which one? Mount, because Bruno's the captain, right?
Yeah, probably Mount. But one thing I wanted to say about Wolves, just before we do go, is Gary O'Neill has showed why dribblers that can basically create transitions themselves are incredibly important. Like you look at Cunha, you look at Pedro Neto, who had a good game. These guys literally just dribbled out. They found a way to. Yep.
They literally just created shots and goals by them. One should have been goals. Cunha should have scored, but he hit the post. Yep. They had just plenty. Neto should have scored straight out. Onana.
Fabio Silva should have scored.
They should have got a pen. Wolves just dominate, really.
But the thing is, that if you're going to play United, you have to dribble out, because they are so obsessed with doing this whole we're going to bombard you, we're going to throw everyone up, and you're not going to be able to handle it. Then once you dribble out and you beat one or two challenges, so you see what the amount of times Mateus,
the amount of space on the halfway line, there's only like two defenders there, and there was
it was mad. Yeah, like just the amount of space you can, if you beat one or two players, the amount of space. Like
if you just go like, I don't remember who it was, but he went around Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw fouled him.
Mateus Nunes.
Yeah, Luke Shaw fouled him, got the yellow card, but so Mino picked up the ball on the halfway line with just two defenders ahead of him, and he's just driving. Obviously, they didn't score. We know they didn't, and they should have. But yeah, like Wolves just need to score goals. I don't see how Wolves. I don't think one Wolves player scores 10 goals this season.
I said it on Twitter. If they had Eddie Nketiah, they are comfortably mid-table. I genuinely think, because the amount of chances they created for he would put one of them away. I'm just 100%.
But they just have no goals in that team.
None. So, and I think the thing is, I like the way that Fabio Silva looked, but I don't think he didn't put the ball in the back of the net, and that's the main thing. But on that note, we are going to go. Shout out everyone in the comments. This is going to be something we do once a week.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, do make sure to like, comment. Sorry again? Say again?
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a different show, a lot more interactive, as you can see.
Yeah, it's very chill. We're just going to talk about the games that we see, and obviously we're not gonna cover every game every time, but because sometimes I don't watch a game, or sometimes Chris doesn't watch a game, and we just kind of skip past it. But
it's the first week, so
yeah,
we'll have to speak about everything. But yeah, next week we'll very likely be doing it on a Tuesday again, because there's a Monday game. Yeah,
it's us. We actually might have to do it Wednesday.
Because we're talking about Arsenal. And
actually, let us know. Do you want to do? We could do it back to back,
or we could do it, or we could do it before Arsenal.
You could do it before Arsenal.
Yeah,
I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you guys. You can DM either us on Twitter, current BOPs at CKFTBL.
Yeah, you could talk in the comments. You could tell us in the comments.
Yep.
Yeah.
We will cover Champions League. As well. So don't worry about it. As you can tell, it was pretty chill. We're not here with a specific chapter structure, etc. We're just gonna have a good time just trying to talk to you guys and see what we think about the upcoming season. So my name's Karan. This is Ball of a Passion. You can find me at Karan BAP on Twitter. You can find Chris at CKFTBL on Twitter. You can find George, who will not be on these shows because he can't
regularly,
be bothered.
But he will probably. I'm very sure at some point he'll make some appearances.
Yeah, he will. No, he's got a lot going on right now, so he will probably make appearance pretty later in the season. But for now, it's just going to be me and Chris doing these because we wanted to try and do something different for you guys. So do like, comment, subscribe. Try and get the video up. It just gets the likes up. It doesn't really do anything for you guys. Just helps us a bit. It helps get the video out. Yeah, and thank you for tuning in. And we will see you. I think we'll probably have to do something very soon regarding probably a preview or I think Chris has the video he wants to release as well. So yeah. So we'll see you guys very soon. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Peace.